Hi, welcome back, viewers, to another edition of Heads Up. And we've got an interesting one this morning because I've had a lot of feedback about the post I put up during the week about the TAB website. And welcome back, the goat. Good to see you back again. How's your week been?
Yeah, well, we're out of jail, so to speak, Neil, back down to level 2, so a bit more freedom. But 7 days is a long time in the world of racing, and a lot's happened since we last got together last Friday. And by the sounds of it, a lot more big changes going to be announced in the next 24, 48 hours, sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely. And if Winston hadn't stepped in with the um, $72 million for the TAB, they would have been insolvent today. $26 million in the debt. So good timing, Winston.
Well, maybe. Unbelievable, though, how an organisation that's basically a monopoly uh,
Yeah.
can be in that sort of position, and how we expect, if the people that led that organisation to that position, how can we expect them to lead us out of it when they got us into it? I just don't understand. To me, the money had to come. If Winston was going to put the money in, which he has, there has to be changes. You can't allow those people, that management team, to continue to have authority to spend that money, because we've seen their track record. 0, 0, 0. That's their track record, Neil.
Yeah, it is. And I think all the people who came before them, as before COVID, are responsible for the questions I get from friends of mine who are non-racing people saying, what's the go? You guys are getting $72 million and we've got these charities and other needy groups of businesses and people who would fall over themselves and break their necks for that kind of money. And it's hard to justify it. And those people that came before COVID-19 caused that problem.
Yep, you can't blame any of this on COVID-19, other
No,
than it
no.
probably sped it up. But
Yeah.
if there was no COVID-19, we would have hit this crossroads in probably another 3 to 6 months, say. Yep, a bit of accountability and would be nice, and transparency and communication. I think that's what most of the industry are frustrated with Rita, is there's been very, very little
Yeah.
communication, transparency. This is our strategy. This is why we're making these decisions. This is what we're trying to achieve. There's been none of that. Oh, we've cut 10 million of costs. Well, you could sack about 12 people and cut 10 million of costs, not quite, but rather than cutting the people that they have, now time will tell whether they've made the right decision. But I go back, their track record isn't flash, Neil. I don't have a lot of faith in the decisions that management team are making at the moment.
I agree 100%. Now, the whole crux of the future of racing, I feel, hangs around what Winston said the other day. We pay the money, we pluck the duck. What he meant by that was, and I'm sure you probably agree, that he's given the Department of Internal Affairs $2.9 million, I think, to investigate overseas gambling and our online gambling. The sole purpose will be to give Dean McKenzie or the Winston to say, let's pass a law where we can block all New Zealand punters accessing those overseas gambling sites and make the New Zealand TAB the only one available to New Zealand punters. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I haven't read into it maybe as much as you. I thought it was more in line with the sort of the online pokies, but I could be wrong. But yeah, time will tell.
That'll be part of it.
Again,
Yeah, must be part
yeah,
of it too. Yeah.
yeah.
And all those punters who have been banned, restricted, or just left the New Zealand TAB site because of frustration, how are we going to get those guys back? The only way we can do that is to match or get close to matching what those overseas sites offer. Otherwise, why would anybody bother just coming back to the TAB site? You want decent odds, you want those bonus bets, other lots of things we'll go through in a moment. But what's your feelings about that?
Uh, yeah, just frustration, to be honest.
It's
It's,
just
you
frustrating.
almost just shake your head and you just go, until you've got people leading this industry that actually have pure skin in the industry. Now, I know Dean McKenzie does, but I don't think Dean McKenzie's running the show just quietly. There's the line of senior management that have been in place for a number of years, have been running this business. They did when John Allen was there. John Allen ended up being the fall guy. But those people have no skin in this industry. And if you don't have any skin in it, you don't make the right decisions, in my opinion.
Exactly. Actually, the person I feel who's communicating well with punters, owners, trainers, and everybody that I've seen on Facebook is Bernard Saundry. Now, he's a good communicator. He knows racing back to front. He knows what breeders, trainers, owners, everybody wants. And at least he's asking questions and answering them in the best of his knowledge. But I wonder if he feels the frustration of what's going on.
I could guarantee you, if you allowed Bernard Saundry to speak his mind, he would not be saying nice things about Rita. He has to play the political game. Rita is the organisation that funds his organisation, so he can't cut the hand off that feeds him.
That's right.
But I can guarantee you he would be equally as frustrated with what's been going on over the last 18 months, 2 years plus.
We're at a crucial stage. We've hit it before. New Zealand racing's at a crucial stage, but we are, over the next 2-3 months, we've got the V shape where we've gone down, hit rock bottom. We'll go either straight back up on a good angle, or we'll do a U, a slow growth and back up, or we'll go L. We'll just stay flatlined, and that's the end by Christmas time. So I'm looking forward to coming back to this video maybe before Christmas or after Christmas and just see whether it was a V, a U, or an L. Anyway.
There you go. Yep. Well, we'll move on to more positive things just for the time being, Neil. And very positive for the backers of Russian Camelot. Last Saturday in the SA Derby, sat 3 wide last, improved from about 700, still 4 or 5 lengths off them at the turn, but he powered into another gear and he was pretty dominant at the line. Very nice win. And can you believe he's favourite for the Melbourne Cup at about $11 now? You and I would not touch him at that price. He'd be close to, the favourite's going to start $7 on the day, just about.
Right.
So why back him at 11s when you got 6 months to wait, and anything could go wrong between now and then?
That's right. It's just the hype. No, if you backed him on Saturday, you might get caught up in the hype and back him again in the Melbourne Cup. But they could be onto something, because there'd be very few overseas horses coming over, you'd think, even by November. Who knows? But with natural growth and maturity, his sectionals and time speed ratings were okay on Saturday. He's only had a handful of starts. So, but like you say, it's a long way to go, and to take that money now is not really value, is it? Why
was your horse scratched? I didn't actually hear that. Your tip from last week.
I don't know, maybe because I tipped it, they scratched it. I don't know, but he's a good horse. But he's first of all, he doesn't start them unless they're 100%. So he'll save for something else. He's a good horse.
Let's have a look at the Goodwood Handicap, shall we? The feature sprint race tomorrow at Morphettville, race 8 on the program. Time to run at 6:25 NZ time.
Yeah.
Pretty strong field of sprinters assembled here, Neil, with, you'd say, Santa Ana Lane and Sunlight being the two proven performers, but both, I would argue, a little bit down on their best form, which suggests that it could be open to a bit of an upset. And I think you're tipping one here at a reasonable price, almost double figure odds, 9-1, the inevitable.
Yep, too right. No, that was a fantastic run at Flemington last start. His closing sectionals, listen to this: 31.63, 21.30, 10.85 for his closing sectionals, in the slower part of the track to run second. And that's sort of, it's winksmanship, even though it was 1,000 metres. And then at Randwick, when he won there, he ran 1:14.5 over 1,300 metres. He just got a beautiful stride on him. And his speed rating then of mine was 131. And that's just top self. So he's a top horse, but one proviso: he's drawn out wide, and I'm picking the track will be off on the inside by this time of day, so which will definitely help him. I reckon he'll snag with cover. He always gets back anyway, and I can see him barreling over the top of these if that inside is off. So, but I know you're keen on one as well.
Well, just one for a bit of an alternative view. Paddy Payne, the trainer of the Inevitable, his stable's in good form too. So
Yeah.
you might be onto something there, Neil. But I'll throw one out just for a bit of a contrary opinion. Number 5, Zuturi. I look at its last 5 starts, and they've all been basically Group 1 sprint races in Victoria, and hasn't been far away in a few of them. I just thought a bit of a freshen up, slight drop in company, well weighted. He's drawn out a bit too at 11, so hopefully you're right in terms of the track being a little bit off on the inside. And he could be one at a bit of value at $16 currently. We might have to have the old chocolate fish. Start those up again, eh?
Well, I tell you what, if I back Zuturi, I'll stop him. I backed him twice and he just hasn't fired. So,
well, don't you back him then, and I'll jump on him for the first time.
I need some chocolate, so you're on.
All right.
Okay. Right. Now, last week's question was a good question. Actually, stumped quite a few, so I gave them a wee hint. And the question was,
what was significant about the first try in the 1987 Rugby World Cup tournament? And it was a penalty try.
Yeah.
And only 6 listeners or viewers got that correct. So I'll pick a number and I'll go with first cab off the rank this week, number 1.
Ian M. Well done, Ian. You've won before, so if you're ticking
off. That's okay. We don't mind people winning more than once, do we?
No, you love winners. So, okay, so I'll put your bet up tomorrow, and fingers crossed for that. Our new question is?
Yep. So this week's question. During the week, obviously, it was confirmed that Dave McDonald would no longer be required in the commentating ranks. Just as an addendum to that, I believe Tony Lee is still being retained. So despite the news article that suggested he was on the way out as well, I'm pretty confident he will still be calling. But Davey Mack is finishing up, or has finished. We'll have a Davey Mack question this week. One of his best remembered calls would have been the 2015 White Robe Lodge Stakes, where a horse called the Diamond One won it. What was significant about that win, and why that race will always be remembered in a lot of people's minds and hearts? If you know the answer, text or email it to Neil by Tuesday, and you're in the draw next week.
Yeah, 027 352 6402, or what are we? formpro@formpro.co.nz. Yep. And what else? Oh, yeah, on that commentary, the commentators thing. Figured if Mark Rosanowski is still going to be commentating the Greyhounds, or
yes, yeah, he's still there, 100%.
You need those specialist commentators, like Peter Earlier and Rozzo, because they know so much about the dogs, inside, outside dogs, which be left, which be right, all information that punters will use to have a bet.
Don't quote me on it, but I don't think Peter Early will be around, but not 100% on that, but that's the whisper I'm hearing.
It's going to be interesting. Anyway, okay, now we've got lots of feedback on that question.
Here we go. Let's crack into this part. Oh dear, this could be dangerous territory we're entering here, Neil.
Well, to me, this is a crucial point in racing, and hopefully the TAB watches this video, because it's free feedback from a lot of punters about why the frustrations they had with the TAB website and what they would like to have for them to come back and use it. Okay, so I've copied and pasted quite a few comments from my email and text. So what have we got here? Alan says, be good if the site or app, simple thing, a TAB site or the app opened up in the racing area and not defaulted to the sports area all the time. Well, you have the choice. That's a nice simple thing.
The choice should be in the settings. You should be able to choose which screen comes up. 100% agree on that one, and it can't be too hard.
Of course not, yeah. And also mention he's in a punters comp with 50 others, where there's 8 or 9 races, and it pays out to 6th place. Everyone puts some on it. I didn't say how much, but 10 or $20. And well, just a nice, simple idea. Why can't the
you're reading our mind. Boys Get Paid will be doing some, we'll call them private punters comps, funded by people's entries and paying out to winners. So that is on the agenda and almost about to be rolled out through Boys Get Paid. So
Brilliant.
given the reach that page has, you could expect some reasonably significant prizes, all within the limits of the DIA's requirements, I'm sure. So it's still above board, but watch the space on that one, Alan.
And that's
We'll
the
promote
thing.
it.
That's the thing. If the TAB ran that and said, if you had say $100 in your TAB account and you use that amount to place these bets on New Zealand racing, and it costs you $20 to enter it, you win the first, second, third prizes, and those go on for, say, 4, 5, 6 weeks, and those weekly winners then go to a 3-monthly playoff or something. What sort of interest would that be? People would follow their tips and information. It would just drive so much interest for nothing for the TAB.
Well, they do have the technology now when they created the Kiwi Punters Championship platform. And they have run a few competitions over lockdown for just the elite customers around that sort of concept. Mini punters comps, minimum $20, $30 a race over a 8 or 9 race card at Warwick Farm or wherever it was. So yeah, the technology's there. I guess it takes a bit of admin, but hey, Luke and the team at BGP aren't afraid of a bit of admin. So I think my money would be on these competitions will hit the road first via BGP rather than the TAB.
Yeah. You're right. No, that's good. Mark N, he said reduce the retail outlets and centralise racing, which I think is going to happen. Well, is happening anyway with the coming back of the tracks. You might know more about that than me, about the tracks.
Yep. Yeah, you'll hear it today. A significant number of tracks will not be granted licenses for next season, so that'll be the next outcry. But costs have to be cut. People want increased stakes. To do that, we need to minimise or reduce costs, and centralising racing does make a lot of sense. So, and what was the other thing he said?
Reduce the number
retail.
of retail outlets, which I think is going to happen anyway, isn't it, through attrition?
Well, I think also it's led to a lot of people learning to have to use the internet COVID because that was their only choice. So, yeah, I'd expect to see more retail outlets closing down, and the digitalisation of that channel. Interesting though, I got told a stat. Lotto sales have been down about 60% over lockdown. So there is still obviously a appetite for people who like to have that ticket in their hand, as opposed to not having it. So interesting, but yeah, as much as people complain about touch tone and the like, I think the most economic form of channel of betting has to be the internet, and so
definitely, yeah.
I think that's just a given, and hopefully that is one decision they have got right.
Yeah, and on that point, Pedro mentioned he can't believe that the manned tellers at racetracks won't be there, or they will be phased out.
Well, same sort of concept though, isn't it? Digitalisation. Let's be honest, the quality of operator on a whole at those on-track terminals is average at best, because they aren't working consistently. They might, especially on big days, they need a lot of operators. So those operators might only work twice a year, 3 times a year. So of course they're going to be a bit rusty. Now we all know their average age isn't probably great, and they struggle and get a bit flustered and the like. So I think that's a change that will come. Again, it will save money, and as long as the clubs are recompensed in the right way around turnover generated through phones while people are on course, and I would think most clubs see that as a positive, to be fair.
I see they're going to have the terminals and the unmanned terminals where you can just punch in your own thing, get your own ticket. Once people get used to, I don't like using them, but if I have to use them on the course, I'll learn how to use them. So,
well, you'll use your phone.
The trouble
don't
is your
mind
phone
using
can
your
go
phone.
flat by the last 2 or 3 races, so they're going to have battery chargers there for everyone's phone, or
Yeah, well,
those sort of things
that's a
got to
good
be
point.
thought of as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you take your laptop, are they going to be allowed on course? You know, just people, you know, especially if you can get overseas, will they be allowed on course? Um,
Well, you can bet overseas on your phone as well. But yeah, I think it'll have to be phased. And I mean, you just think back to
yeah,
in the 1980s. The 1980s, if you needed money out of your bank account, you walked into a branch of the bank and you talked to a teller and you handed over your bank
yeah,
book and she stamped it and
right.
wrote in your balance. And
Yeah.
we wouldn't do that now
No,
because we just use automatic tellers. This is basically just another form of automation. People will get used to it. It's a change, but I think it's one that will happen and people will just adapt to it.
yeah. And it's, as you say, going to cost a lot less per sale too. You know, add it all
And
up.
the technology, those machines, as you can see, how many times have you scan a winning ticket on the machine and the window that you can see at the front doesn't even show the amount because it's broken. I mean, those machines are outdated, and to replace all of those would be a fairly significant cost. So if you can get self-service terminals that are more um, adaptable, I
Yeah,
think probably
friendly.
not a bad thing. But hey, time will tell.
Yeah,
Pedro,
definitely.
you're a young 79-year-old. You'll be able to handle it, mate.
Yeah, too right. Yeah, I'll give you some free lessons. Yeah. Not to let me beat you at golf, right? One here from Ian, who won the multi question. He mentions terminating pick sixes. In the past, have been incredible incentives to the punter and interest of non-punters as well. Pick 8 is a bit much, he said. Stick to pick 6, starting with a guaranteed pool of 100 to 200k and terminating when reaches $500,000. Okay. Gets people excited, doesn't it, about racing? When they were running, they were terrific.
I guess they've always traditionally been a winter product. That sort of July period is when they often introduce those. So we'll be interesting to see if that's on their menu for this winter. We've touched on the subject numerous times. People study the form if they're wanting to win a pick 6, and that invariably generates extra turnover in other pools, not just the pick 6. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I just
something
wish
that.
that wish they'd guaranteed these Saturday pools. So they've always gone to 20k. If they put up guaranteed to 20k and still terminating, I'd have a go. But I'm not, because 20k it's not worth it. You know, if they said guaranteed to 20 and terminating, a lot more would have a go to get to 30, 40, $50,000 and be worth striking. So
I think you know why they mean to guaranteeing them. It's called they were almost insolvent, Neil. You wouldn't be happy if you won a pick 6 and then you tried to withdraw the money out of your account and you couldn't. So, hey, they might start guaranteeing them again now that they've got a bit of tin and
you
money
try
in the
it, yeah.
tin.
Even just 10k, just guaranteed to something safe like 10k on a Saturday. Crikey. He also says when you go to a racetrack, make it free entry, give people betting vouchers to bet with. And
Well, that's more a club
yeah,
issue than a retail issue.
yeah,
Yeah, I think you should pay for big days personally because you are getting a product. You still pay to go to the rugby to go and watch. You don't say, oh, but I've put a $500 bet on the game, so I want to get in for free. You still pay because you're being entertained, and you can stay at home and watch the rugby, or you can go and pay and enjoy a live experience. And to me, on a big race day, you should pay, is my take on it. Smaller race days, no, but bigger ones, yes, because you're being given an entertainment experience. So that comes at a cost.
it all comes down to value for money, doesn't it? If you're going there and you hear a good live band, there's things for your kids to play on if you're taking kids, and there's really good
Yep.
horses going, that's a great day out. And I thought,
Mm.
and more people are going to appreciate a good day at the races now, post COVID-19. So, but a good suggestion though, with the betting vouchers, and that could be used in other things as well, like the bonus back office and those sort of things.
Yeah, creating sort of on-course only type competitions.
Yeah.
The thing that
Good idea.
Tauranga and a few other clubs do. Members have a chance to win a $50,000 prize if they can pick 4 winners. So competitions that only can be won and entered if you are on course. Other types of things, extra attractions to get people on course.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I've got one here from who's it from? Phil, and quite a long one. I'll pick out the nuts and bolts from it. He picks on overseas with overseas bookies, and he compares the prices. And he says they're generally the same, but you can get so many bonus bets, money back offers, and boosts, power boosts, etc., that they aren't matching here. So if that was on the TAB website, he may be tempted to come back. So matching those bonus bets. I don't use overseas bookies. I use Betfair, but I don't use the overseas bookies. I don't know if you have experience using those, but what do you think?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. You'll find though, Phil, that if you start winning, they won't be offering you those bonus bets. So just be aware of that. And there's always a cost, and I know you'll find this funny that I'm actually defending the TAB in this respect, but there is always a cost dealing with overseas bookies when it comes to getting your money back in terms of fees, exchange rates, etc. I know of a certain punter who put in $25,000, deposited $25,000 over a period to an overseas bookie. He withdrew $25,000, so exactly got his money back. But the upshot is, and that was 25,000 Australian, the upshot is the money back in his New Zealand bank account versus what he went out of his New Zealand bank account was $669 less. So there's always a small cost. Now that's 2% basically, 2.5%, whatever it was. But there is a little cost. People, I mean, the TAB have worked out. People you got to let people win. Ultimately, this industry is funded by punters' losses, but punters will stop betting and stop losing if they never win. So that's why that bonus bet type thing is, oh, well, I lost, but I didn't really because I've got a bonus bet and I keep going. And so it's a fine line between obviously encouraging punters to keep betting and feeling good and whatnot, but ultimately winning money off them to fund the industry.
Yeah.
And so, I think, that's all I'll say about that.
Someone on Twitter, I think it was Sonia, brought up the point about paying a 2.5% commission when you're depositing money.
Well, that's because you don't have to do that, but obviously if you did during COVID times, but yeah, I think that's more bank related. You stay at a hotel, you go to check out, it's $200 for the hotel, you pay by credit card, they don't charge you $200, they charge you $206. That's a banking issue around the cost of transacting via credit card. I will say if you are a high volume punter, they do not charge you to deposit. So there's an incentive to bet more if you don't want to be stung. But that's probably not a wise bit of advice, but just saying that some punters, quite a few punters, don't pay credit card deposit fees.
It's interesting because I'd say much of those big punters started off when they were younger as small punters. And like a person like Sonia has an interest, she may do well and become a big punter. So why it's a little small cost to incentivize.
Well, but you can still go to the TAB agency and deposit money and it doesn't cost you anything. So you're paying for a convenience basically, aren't you?
You can go through your bank account too, can't you? So
correct.
The options, I shall just bring this back up again. Okay, those are those ones. Now over to Twitter, and there's a top up from Sonia. let people have a bet. So one of the guys says, Ben, he says, let people have a bet. So
Yeah.
restricting your highest turnover customers, what business would stop their highest turnover customers dealing with them? Interesting,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Well, the problem, turnover isn't what people care about anymore, because it was when we only could bet via tote, because obviously the more turnover in a pool, the greater the TAB's profit out of it, because they just took a set margin out of all the. If the win pool was $100,000, the TAB would know they're making $16,000 out of that race. If the win pool's 200,000, they know they're making 32,000. Unfortunately, with fixed odds betting, if the total if the total amount of bet on a fixed odds win option is 100,000, the TAB could win 100,000 if everyone backed.
Yep.
If the horse that won the race, no one had put $1 on, or they could lose hundreds of thousands if the only horse backed was the winner. So we know over time the margin works out about 10%, 11% for fixed odds. But if you know that certain punters have a greater chance of winning, you are going to restrict them. To me, that then becomes a game. I think you and I have both been down that path before, Neil, where we've been restricted, cut off. You just have to get smarter in how you go about it, and still be able to get your bets on using alternative means without giving too much away. But I'm sure you can think of ways to do that without contravening too many laws of the land.
Yeah,
but
and it's going on. But
if the TAB only had winning punters, they would be insolvent much faster, because, as
right.
I say, the whole industry is funded on punters' losses.
Yeah. I said this about 10, 12 years ago. I posted it up on, I think, Race Cafe, and I said, exchange betting is the way of the future, because exchanges want you to win. Yeah?
Well, exchange betting,
don't want you to win. Long term, they won't, do they? But exchange betting, there's so much more to do. Why? And I said the TAB should get in cahoots with tab.com.au over in Australia and get their own, that was 12 years ago, get their own exchange up and running. Why should the UK take all the profits? And that people can do so much more and get involved.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've had this conversation over the last few weeks. The cost of exchange betting, there's an IT cost, but you're not having prices, you're not having traders, you're not having any of that. The human cost of exchange betting, and for people that don't know, exchange betting is just like the old days. You like the Australian Wallabies to win a rugby test, Neil. I like New Zealand. And we just have $100 straight out bet between the two of us. And if you win, I give you my 100. And if I win, you give me your 100. And so basically it's the equivalent of a $2 bet between you and I. Now, of course, in the days of fixed odds betting, the All Blacks are paying $1.87 and the Australians are paying $1.87. Well, one of us will win $87. One of us will lose 100, and the TAB make $13. Using that analogy. And so that $13 is the middleman. Well, you cut out the middleman, or Betfair, the commission rates are around 5%. So suddenly you see on Betfair, you know you're going to get, at worst in that scenario, $1.95, not $1.87. And there's much less cost. What price should we put Australia at? What price should we make New Zealand? Oh, we've taken this money on New Zealand. What price do we bring them into? It's the cost, and I know there are a number of cuts being made around traders and prices as part of this cost-cutting mission that Rita are on. But I think probably we've missed the boat when it comes to exchange betting. But if they had listened to you 12 or 13 years ago, I tell you now, we wouldn't be insolvent as of today if not for a government handout. The industry would look far different, in my opinion, but we've missed that boat.
Yeah, missed that boat. I don't know if they could still do it with the right people in the right places. But The only way it would work is through education, because people have to be educated how to use it, because you can lose money quickly, as you know, if you don't know what you're doing. And it is for young punters who want to make a business out of punting. It can be done on an exchange. So at the moment, I'll tell you what, even the TAB could match what Betfair is doing to some extent, to give the people a chance. If you have a horse that goes out a $1.70 favourite, why
Yeah,
not offer $2.10 for it to lose?
favourite. Yeah, well, majority of Australian bookmakers offer a favourite versus the field option. So
Yeah.
your favourite's $3, the field's $1.33 type of scenario, and that is conditioning people to be backing basically a horse to lose. They
People
do
argue.
it very occasionally here in usually bigger races. Maybe they perceive there's an integrity issue in smaller races, that you can make more money out of backing against the favourite than the favourite winning for the stake money. So I don't know what the issue is. If you trust the integrity in big races, you should be able to trust the integrity function in smaller races. But yeah, that's one option that I play quite often offshore, and you do as well, either via a fixed odds bet or via Betfair.
Mm.
It's always good, isn't it, when you know you've backed a winner at the 600 when your horse that you've laid is basically going backwards. You don't even need to watch the rest of the race.
Right. It's right there, right there. No, it's a fascinating part of betting, exchange betting. And like you touched on it a few seconds ago about let's just do it on high stakes races. So, riders and trainers aren't going to be perceived by pulling the horse in it, because
why though? Because if you got to trust the integrity function. The Stipes watch a race as carefully if it's a maiden race at bloody Hara versus a Group 1 race at Ellerslie. And the integrity should be the same regardless of the race. So therefore the betting, there shouldn't be any concerns about the betting regardless of which race. I don't know if that's the reason, but it's the only reason why I can think of.
Yeah, but if they want Betfair punters to come back, if they get blocked from using Betfair, people have got the option of using that on the New Zealand TAB. Great, you're going to get some people coming back.
Exactly.
What else we got here? One thing. Oh, that's right. Leg Spinner says, "Ha, mate, that is dead right. One thing I noticed too compared is the cash out value on bets like multis is way less on the New Zealand TAB."
I'll say this now. Cash out New Zealand TAB is an absolute farce. Anyone who uses that function needs rocks in their heads, by and large. It just defies belief. You back a horse at, say you put $1,000 on a horse at $10. So the moment you put your bet on, the cash out function will be $9,500. They take 5% basically, and that's fine. Understand that. That horse comes into $6. So it's back from 10s to 6s. Your cash out function stays the same price, doesn't move. You should be given more opportunity. Cash out. If you back that same horse at 10s and it drifts out to 15s, your cash out drops to about 400. So they cream it both ways. Don't get me started.
And that's what's basically peeing off punters is this total rip-off, perceived rip-off, whether it's perceived or actual. You've just frozen there, goat, but I'll carry on talking while you unfreeze yourself. It's going to be really interesting to see how they change that to match the overseas bookies. Come on, the goat. I'll carry on here. What else have we got here? We've got, I think, good point. Matty J says, I think they need to open up odds at the same time as the Aussies on Aussie races, not wait till they've all dropped in price, then release a day after. Give us a chance to get the better odds, otherwise I'll keep playing over there. Really good point. The odds on Aussie races, on the main races, can come out sometimes late on a Wednesday afternoon, nearly always up by Thursday, but you miss out on that chance to get the early odds. So that needs to be sorted out as well. All right. Steve Donovan on Twitter says, consider guaranteeing best price on dividends, fixed odds, versus finishing SP. Good idea. Would get punters involved and know they're going to get the best price. So all really good ideas. There's a ton of more good ideas. That TAB or me or the GOAT aren't privy to all the good ideas. So keep those ideas coming, and we'll pass them on to the TAB. They can have them for free. We're doing the research for free for them. The GOAT should be able to plug back in shortly. Let's see what he can do here. Okay. What else? I was going to mention the here he comes again. I'll just carry on and mention the form line comments. Many of you will know that I do the form line comments for the New Zealand race meetings, all Gallops meetings. They're called the review comments, and there are about half a dozen reviewers who do harness and Gallops comments. They've all been given the chops. So in the form lines and the PDFs, or if the race form book comes out again, you will not get the review comments in the form lines, because the only way you get those is through replays. Good to see you back, Goat. We thought we'd just had some time until you came back online.
Yeah, sorry about that. The connection isn't quite up to speed, but we're back. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I'll just get rid of the other Goat. There, it's fine. It's good.
I swapped to my phone.
Little technical. I just mentioned. What did I mention there? Steve Donovan. Consider guaranteeing best price on dividends, fixed odds versus finishing SP. Good idea. So people maybe on certain races, not all races, but some races, just to get a taste for punters.
Yep, that's another product that obviously the Australian bookmakers use on metropolitan meetings. So again, has its advantages. Obviously, it reduces the margin potentially, but if it keeps punters' loyalty, then you got to weigh that up, don't you?
Definitely, yeah. Just before you came on, I mentioned the form line comments that myself and about half a dozen other people have been chopped for doing the 6-hour challenge turn 4 world comments and the form lines. They will no longer be done. I'm doing the first month in July for free for the PDF lines, but after that I'm going to be doing them only for the Form Pro rating sites, unless they happen to offer me a contract doing them again, or someone does them. I don't know, but it's going to be hard to know how a horse even last week ran if you can't see it on the form line. You either got to have a memory of a genius or go back and watch the replays. You happy to do that, Go?
Not particularly. This is what I can't work out. John Allen told us at a meeting we attended at Matamata when we questioned the value of this fixed odds betting platform, and he, in no uncertain terms, told us that this fixed odds betting platform would convert your typical pokey punter into being a sports bettor. And you can imagine the response that he got after he made those comments. You're dreaming, mate. You're absolutely dreaming. You do not understand. And I think it's pretty obvious that that hasn't happened. Are they trying to change racing punters to become just bet on regardless? Don't need to know the form. Don't need to know anything. Just bet anyway. As long as you can watch the race, just bet on it. Don't do any study. Don't assess form. It seems that's their strategy. It just defies belief that they're expecting people to continue to bet. That's the whole point of why racing is different from pure luck-based gambling options such as pokies. You have no control over whether the pokies spin up, whatever. You do have some control and edge with racing. But if they try and dumb everything down, it isn't going to work. That's what I can't understand. What is the strategy?
It's going to be like, I think you mentioned or someone else mentioned, it's going to be like watching pokies on trackside. And it's only going to be 20 meetings a year for all codes. That'll be covered in depth on trackside. 20 meetings a year. Incredible. You know, we've got these guys, Adam Rodley, Popperwell, Jason Tan, Greg O'Connor, all got great experience, great contacts with trainers and owners and riders who give people a reason to bet. If they haven't got the information in the form lines or those bits of gems from jockeys saying that, oh, they blew out last start and it's much fitter today, it's a much fitter horse this time, punters are going to use that information to have a bet. But if they haven't got that, why even freaking bother having a bet? I'm a full-time punter. I'll just go to Australian racing and I haven't got the information there.
Yeah, well, there you go.
No brainer. It's just, I just can't, there's not, like I say, no strategy to encourage or give punters.
Tell us what your strategy is. I mean, that's the thing. There's no
What is it?
no transparency. What is your strategy? What are you trying to achieve here? And if that's what you're trying to achieve, then at least people go, okay, well, we understand why you're making these decisions.
Yeah.
But your strategy is flawed. Businesses, any successful business has a set strategy. I just can't work out what the TAB's is at the moment.
Here's something. A business that has 20 to 25% of his income, weekly income from a certain customer, you think they would be consulted with in this time in a business? You know, that was your biggest customer? Of course you would. Now, Luke Kimmy's Boys Get Paid, guy passionate about racing. You know him well, I know him well. He's got a good business head on him. Everyone thinks he's God. And he's a terrific guy, you know, and he just wants the best for racing. He and Boys Get Paid is the future of racing. I'll be gone. I'll be 6 feet under in 20 years' time. I'm just hoping like hell that Luke Kimmy's, and I'll go with him, anybody who wants to go with him, to go and see Winston Peters, to say, we are at the absolute bottom. If we don't get this business sorted out now, turn the lights out. So it's going to take Luke Kimmy's, I feel, and his support group to get this changed. Simple as that.
Yeah. Don't get me started on customer feedback. I'll
frustrating.
tell you a story. This is a true story, Neil. I was invited to go to a function in Wellington, flown down by the TAB to attend a function in Wellington to discuss the fixed odds betting platform by the customer relations team, we'll call them, of the TAB. Flights booked, accommodation booked. We're going to catch a game of rugby as well as a bit of a sweetener for our time, etc. The agenda gets sent out. My name is on the agenda as one of the guests. A certain person in the fixed odds team refused to have me attend that meeting. They did not want my feedback. So I still flew down, went to the rugby game, didn't go to the feedback session. That is how the TAB treat people who feel who they are threatened by. They do not want to listen. They know it all. Well, we can see their choice and how they've built this platform and what it does. Well, ask yourself. I'm not saying my feedback would have made any difference, but if you're not willing to listen to customers, well, then you've got serious issues. Anyway, that's my rant.
Well, the Department of Internal Affairs is going to investigate overseas gambling outlets. How are they going to know how many New Zealand punters use those sites? The overseas bookies aren't going to tell them. They aren't going to tell them what numbers are doing with them. It's commercially sensitive, that sort of information. So the only way they can get that is through a group like Boys Get Paid. Gold information. But have Rita, has Dean McKenzie rung Luke Kimmy's or contacted him and said, hey, Luke, we love what you're doing. You're the future of New Zealand racing. Come in, let's talk about how we can get ourselves out of this hole. Has that been asked? A simple question like that, has it been asked? Probably hasn't been thought of.
I don't want to get into too much detail. Luke flew down to Wellington, met with the senior leaders and that. It was all lip service. Nothing came of it. They didn't want to know. They're threatened by Boys Get Paid. That's the truth of it, Neil, because Boys Get Paid is doing more for this industry than Rita. And that's the way it is.
They should be embracing them. Like,
Boys get paid to do it on the smell of an absolute oily rag,
yeah,
while
that's right. Yeah.
so-called gurus pay huge money,
Hmm.
and yeah, this
Okay.
is the result. Their
Solution
strategy
time.
is the position
Hmm.
of basically create an insolvent business.
Exactly. So solution time. The two solutions are, my thinking is someone like Luke Kimmies with great support from, I'd go with me, you could do it with them. I know some big elite, or used to be elite punters, big punters, owners, trainers. If we went along, confronted Winston Peters and said, this is what's going on, we need to change the people who are making these decisions that are basically stuffing up New Zealand racing long term. That's one solution. The other solution is the TAB website. Discussed how we could change that now. If we don't do that, we're going to be L-shaped by Christmas. Any thoughts on that?
Not going to disagree with you there, Neil.
So I'm looking forward to playing back this heads up before Christmas, after Christmas, maybe early. We could have been right. Hopefully we're wrong, totally wrong, and they get it right. Close these tracks, get their TAB website up and running, ban punters from using overseas sites, and get a terrific TAB site. Wouldn't that be just great? Trainers like young David Green, all these young trainers are sitting there thinking, shivers, am I going to stay in this business or not? Am I going to go back to my old trade of building or just trying some job somewhere? So many people rely on what these guys are doing right now that these guys, I hate to say it, there's mental illness going around for so many people who have done drastic things. And that's the last thing you want to see, but it's so important that these guys get it right. I'm really feel for these guys.
So
and
hold on a
And
second.
women, riders, female riders and trainers, it's just not right.
So hold on a second. And we'll make it personal. John Allen would have collected over 4 or 5 years, is at the helm, 4 years I think it was, close to $3 million. How much of that has he reinvested in the industry? How many horses has he got a share in? He might have paid 100 and something bucks to become a member of Trentham. That's his contribution from collecting $3 million in income out of industry funds.
Yeah.
That's what you're dealing with here when you have people that have no skin in the game.
Exactly. And the writing was on the wall, wasn't it? I think everyone heard it when he said, when he got the job, the first thing he did was go into a TAB because he'd never been into one before.
For the first ever time in his life.
Stuff, me. It's just, anyway, I'm looking forward to playing this tape back in 6 months' time and seeing how wrong we were. I don't want to be right. I want to be proven wrong. And the only way we can do that is by Winston Peters doing it, getting it right, or the TAB getting that website right, so everyone comes back and starts betting. Only two solutions. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, I've probably said enough. This might be our last ever podcast, mate. The old Chinese Communist Party might come in and tell us that we're banned. We're not allowed to promote such terrible propaganda.
Yeah, no, it's the reality though, isn't it? So it had to be said because no choice. If we don't say it, it's same old, and we all go under together. What's the point?
It's hard for them to come out and say, you guys don't know what you're talking about. Trust us, we know what we're doing. Well, the results show you don't know what you're doing. You nearly caused the whole TAB to go insolvent. How can you have any faith in your own abilities? Please, if you had any idea, you'd step aside and go, nah, not up to this. I can't do it. I'm not good enough. But none of them will because they're on the gravy train.
Totally frustrating, and we will see. We will see what happens. Anyway, back at it tomorrow. Have a smile on your face, and we'll see you next Friday, hopefully.